Hello everyone, welcome back. Well, today we're going to study Unit 7 and among many lessons we're going to talk about marriages. Okay, so are you married or are you planning to get married? Or do you think you're going to live alone? Well, it doesn't matter. But everyone should admit that marriage is a very, very important life event, right? Oh, that's right. And each country, each culture has a different wedding ceremony and traditions related to marriage, right? For example, in Western culture, I guess, the bridegrooms are not supposed to see the wedding dress before the wedding day. Isn't it really funny, right? 한국 사람들은 어때요? For Koreans, these days, we just, bride and bridegroom meet together before the wedding day. And of course, the bridegroom see this bride in her wedding dress, right? So it's kind of a differences in, value system and, some superstitions that we have and stuff like that. So all the cultures and customs related to marriage cannot but be different, right? Why don't we look at the picture here on page 61? If you look at the first picture, wow, very familiar picture for us since we are exposed to American, movies, Western movies and stuff like that. And of course, bride and bridegroom look like this exactly in Korea these days, right? Okay. And, they're all happy, families are together along with the bride and bridegroom, and they look really happy. Okay, this picture was taken in the garden, maybe outside the church. Well, in Western culture, they don't have a wedding hall, but instead they get married usually in churches, right? But in Korea, we have this wedding hall, or some Christians, they use church, right, for their wedding places. Okay, and if you go to the second picture, wow, this must be some traditional wedding. And wow, how exciting. Look at this. They don't look excited at all. But if you look at this bridegroom, money is attached everywhere on his body. Isn't it really funny, right? For us to see, actually. We cannot say that. It's really funny when it comes to the culture because it's kind of value system that people have different ideas. But anyway, it's traditional wedding. And if you look at the third one, maybe, I guess it's kind of a Vegas wedding. If you want to get married, people say you have to go to Vegas. Why? In Las Vegas, it will take like 10 minutes. Very, very, fast. So I think it's like this. Just like 우리 그 맥도날드나 이런 데 가면요. 밖에서 주문해가지고 먹을 수 있는 것처럼 just like that, right? 결혼도요. 여기 주례 선생님이 지금 목사님이에요. Pastor is sticking out of this window and you are bride and you are bridegroom and now I pronounce you as husband and wife. 이러면 딱 끝나는 어떤 그런 패턴인 것 같아요. Really, really quick, right? Okay, and what do you think are some reasons, for marriage? 결혼을 위해서 아주 좋은 이유는 뭐라고 생각해요? What are some good reasons for getting married? Well, if you're in love, of course. So if you fall in love with someone, you want to be with him or her all the time. And that's why you say, will you marry me? And then, after all, you and the person that you love are together, and then you live your life together, share your life together. And that's what is the marriage is all about, right? But, sometimes some people get married for money, to have, better opportunity in their life, right? And I don't think that might not be a good idea or a good reason to get married. What do you think? Well, to each his own, but as long as I'm concerned, I don't think that is a good idea to get married. Okay, and why don't we go to number 3? We're gonna listen to a woman. Okay, this woman got married not because she fell in love with someone, but because her family wanted her to marry this guy. So it is so-called arranged marriage, right? So is she happy after getting married, based on that system, or is she really happy because she listened to her family's request and, followed? Okay, why don't we listen to that part and solve the questions? Okay, so what you have to do is listen carefully and try to solve the questions in number 4 from 1 to 8.
How old were you when you met your husband, Pratima?
I was just 16.
Were you still at school?
No, I'd left school, but I was having private tuition at home to prepare me for some exams.
And your father arranged your marriage, is that right?
That's right.
Could you tell me how he did that?
Well, he looked around for a suitable husband. He asked friends and relatives if they knew anyone and found out about their education, their background, and, most importantly, the family's background. He managed to get a lot of information about them,
Well, what was your question in mind? 여러분이 가지고 계셨던 질문은 어떤 건가요? 저는 have you ever regretted about your decision? 뭐 결정, 그 연애 결혼이 아니라 그 부모님께서 다 arrange 해주신 그런 결혼을 하는 것에 있어서 후회해 본 적 있냐? 뭐 이런 질문 하고 싶었거든요. 근데 did you get the answer for your question? What was your question? Well, yeah, I think I got the answer. She seems very satisfied about her decision, right? 결정에 대해서 굉장히 만족해하고 있는 것 같네요. Okay, 자, 그래서 number 1은 여러분 나름대로 그 생각하신 질문에 대한 대답이 쭉 나오는지 보시면 되겠고요. Okay, why don't we go to number 2 together? What is question number 2? Okay, it's on your book, page 61. How did Pratima's father find the 2 men? Okay, the 2 men were kind of candidates, were candidates for her husband. 그러니까 그녀의 husband가 되기 위한 후보가 2명이었어요. 그죠? Isn't it really funny? 그러면서 이제 그 리스트를 작성을 해가지고, well, they just kind of evaluated both, and then, they decide later who's better for her, right? Okay, so 이 두 사람은 어떻게 결정했다고 했습니까? Okay, the first part is start like this. How old were you when you got married? 결혼했을 때 how old was she? She was 16. She was 16 years old, very, very young. But, a long time ago, people, women got married when they're really young, like 16 and 17. That's what my grandma always tells me, right? Long time ago, when you were like 16 or 15, they got married, and you should know better than that. 뭐 그거보다 더 잘할 수는 없냐? 뭐 이런 식으로 요구하실 때 옛날에는 그 나이에는 시집도 갔었어. 뭐 이런 얘기 많이 하시는데 하여튼 she got married when she was 16, right? Okay, and I was just 16, she says. And were you still at school? Well, normally girls at their age 16, they study at school. But she didn't go to school. What did she do then? Well, she got this private tuition, she said, private tutoring at home to take an exam. This is what she said, to prepare me for some exams. So, as a student, she has to pass some exams to get ahead, right? So in order to prepare those exams, she would study at home with a tutor. This is what she said. So she was having private tuition. Okay, this is what she's saying by saying private tuition. Okay, and your father arranged your marriage. Okay, here it starts. 자, 결혼을 그러니까 미리 중매를 해가지고 다 arrange를 해놓으셨는데 그런데 is that right? 맞죠? Okay, and she says that's right. Okay, and could you tell me how he did that? Here, I think we can get the answer for number 2. How did Pratima's father find the 2 men? Pratima's father found 2 men. How? Well, listen carefully. Well, he looked around for a suitable husband. He looked around for a suitable husband. What does suitable mean? The right man for her, right? Right man for her. 이 프라티나에게 어울리는 딱 맞을 만한 그런 남자를 찾아다닌 거죠. Okay, and he asked friends and relatives, do you by any chance know anybody who would be very suitable for my daughter? 이러면서 이제 다니게 된 거죠. Okay, and if they knew anyone and found out about, so what are some values that they had. 어떤 스탠다드를 가지고 계셨나요? Well, they asked about their education, okay, 교육이 얼마나 됐는지, and their background, especially family background, she says, right? So 가족의 배경, 그 다음에 뭐 교육 정도, 뭐 이런 것들이 굉장히 중요하다고 여겼겠죠? 여기에 대해서 답이 정말 잘 풀리네요. Number 2는요. How did Pratibha's father find the two men? How did he find the two men? Well, he asked friends and relatives. So, do you by any chance know any guy that would be suitable for my daughter? 이렇게 이제 물어보고 다닌 거죠. And what is number 3? Number 3 is this. What did he want to know about them? Okay, so those are standards. 그 여러 가지 기준들. 기준들 중에서 뭐가 있었습니까? Well, he asked about their education. 교육 정도가 어떻게 되는지, and their background, 그들의 그 배경, and especially family background. So family background가 굉장히 중요하다라고 얘기를 했습니다. 그래서 family background might include like how wealthy they are, what kind of jobs do the family members have, and where they live and stuff like that, right? And what kind of religion they have. Okay, all those things will be included in the family background, right? 이런 것들에 대해서 물어보고 다녔다는 거죠. 오케이, 자, 나머지 그 4번부터 그 이후 부분은요, 또 듣고서 계속 풀어보도록 하겠습니다.
And how long did this take?
Not too long in my case, but sometimes a father can see up to 100 men before he chooses one. For my sister and my elder sister, he saw over 100 men before...
He saw how many? Goodness, it must take up a lot of time.
Yes, it can be difficult to decide. But for me, he saw only 2. One in the morning and one in the afternoon. And he chose the second one.
What a day. Can you tell me about it?
Yes. Well, in the morning, the first man was very wealthy. And he was well dressed and had good manners, but he hadn't had a good education.
Ah, and the other one?
Well, he wasn't terribly wealthy, but he was well educated, and he came from a good background. His family owned a village and were like princes. He was 22 and studying law.
And this one your father chose?
Wow, I cannot believe this. 정말 믿을 수가 없어요. Well, her father saw up to 100 men before he actually chose one for her sister, elder sister, and younger sister. Wow, 아버지가 굉장히 꼼꼼하시고 깐깐하시고 결혼을 굉장히 중요시 여기시는 것 같네요. Well, but for her, 그녀를 위해서는요, 몇 명을 봤다고 했습니까? He saw only 2 men, right? One in the morning and one in the afternoon. But, can you compare and contrast these 2 men? 이 두 남자를 비교하실 수 있으시겠어요? 한 남자는 어떻다고 했어요? The man he saw in the morning, he was wealthy, and 그 wealthy, 부자였어요. And then well dressed, 옷도 아주 잘 입었고요. 그 다음에요, well, he was okay. 괜찮은 그런 배경이었습니다, right? So, wealthy, well dressed, and had good manners. 아주 매너도 좋았대요, right? But how about the one he saw in the afternoon? Well, 오후에 본 사람이 결국은 husband가 되긴 했지만요. Okay, so the one he saw in the afternoon was, well, not wealthy, right? Not well dressed. 옷도 잘 입지 않았고요. But what's important about him is he was very, very intelligent because he was educated. 그 교육을 받았다라는 그런 내용이 쭉 나와 있었습니다. So, he was well educated and he was from a good family background. Okay? So, you have to compare and contrast these two before you choose one actually, right? So, 이런 그 조건들이 쭉 나왔죠? So, the first one, 다시 한번 정리하면요. Number 4. What were the similarities and differences between the 2 men? Well, similarities, well, the first one, similarities were what? They were from a good family, right? Family backgrounds were good. But differences is what? Well, the one in the morning, 아침에 본 그 사람은, he was wealthy. But, the other was not. He was not from a wealthy family. And the guy in the morning, he was not well educated. But guy in the afternoon, he was well educated, right? Okay. And this person in the morning was well dressed, but the guy in the afternoon was not well dressed. 이런 것들을 compare and contrast 할 수가 있겠죠. Okay? 여러분 같으면 어떤 사람을 고르시겠어요? Wealthy family, well-dressed guy, or intelligent, but not quite rich. 어떤 사람을 고르시겠어요? 여러분 나름대로 생각해 보시면 되겠고요. And then, why don't we go to the next part together and solve number 5?
That's right. I think he thought money wasn't everything. For my father, education was more important. And anyway, if a man is well educated, he will earn in the end. Actually, Shyam, that's my husband's name, Shyam didn't want to get married at all, but his father had told him he must. So when he came to my house to meet my father, he was very badly dressed because he hoped my father would refuse him. But luckily for me, my father did like him. And he had to say yes.
He had to?
Oh, yes. He had promised his father.
Okay. 샤이암이 누군가 했더니 오후에 아버지를 만났었던 청년이에요, right? So the guy in the afternoon, his name was Shyam, and 프라티마하고 이제 결국은 결혼하게 됐죠. The question number 5. Why did his father choose Shyam and not the first man? Okay, 첫 번째 남자를 선택하지 않고 Shyam을 선택하니 what is that? Well, he valued education, right? So 여기서 뭐라고 얘기했냐면요. Money wasn't everything. 돈이 다가 아니잖아요. Money wasn't everything. That's right. So if man is well educated, in the end, he's gonna earn money. Wow. I think that is very smart, right? 이렇게 생각하는 게 굉장히 스마트한 것 같아요. So if a man is well educated, 교육을 잘 받게 되면 in the end, he's going to earn money. He will get rich, right? Because he's intelligent enough to understand the situation and get through the ways to be successful, right? Okay. And that is what her father thought. Okay, 아버지가 생각했던 것이 그거니까. And then he chose the man in the afternoon, Shyam을 선택하게 된 것이죠. And now it's time for us to go to number 5. Why did her father choose, number 6, why did Shyam dress badly? Why? He's dressed badly because he was not interested in marriage, right? He didn't want to get married. So he didn't want to give a good impression to Pratima's father, right? So he was badly dressed and he hoped, maybe he would refuse me, right? If I am badly dressed. So this is what he thought. And he didn't want to get married. And he didn't want to impress the father of Patrima. That's why he was badly dressed. Okay? Okay. All right. I think that is a very, very good value system and standard to look at one's education. But there are still lots of people who is not that well educated, but has a good personality and really make it big in the world. That's right. Okay, why don't we listen to the rest of the part?
Well, and what about you? Did you meet both men?
Yes, I met them that day. First, my family spoke to them, and then they called me in, and we spoke for 4 or 5 minutes.
And did you prefer the second?
Well, actually, I wasn't sure. I left it to my father.
Well, you must trust him a lot.
Oh, yes.
So what happened next?
Well, after a while, there was a special day when I went to meet his family, and his family came to meet mine. It was a kind of an engagement party. But we, Shyam and me, we used to be on the phone every day, and we'd meet regularly, but always we had to have a chaperone. And after 10 months, we got married.
Wow, there are multiple steps before she actually got married, right? So there were step 1, step 2, step 3. What was the step 1? Her father searched for the right person for her. And, there were kind of 2 candidates, and he interviewed both. And then what was the next step? Well, before she actually met them, there were kind of the step before that. What was that? Well, here, there was like her family members had to meet both, right? So 둘 다를 그 family member에게 선을 보이는 그런 게 있었어요. 그래서 first my family spoke to them and then they called me in. So family member들이 먼저 보고 그 다음에 이제 직접 보게 된 것이죠. Okay? And then what's next? 자, 그 다음에 어떻게 됐습니까? Well, she didn't have any idea which one is better for her. 두 사람 중에서 누가 더 좋은지 어떤 아이디어도 없었어요. 근데 she said, oh, I left it to my father. What does that mean? 아버지에게 모든 결정권을 남겨줬다. That means that she trusted her father about this decision, right? Okay, and then, what happened? Well, he actually chose one person, which is Shyam. Who was Shyam? Shyam을 그 선택을 한 것이 되겠죠. 자, 그리고 나서, well, there was kind of a special day. 특별한 날이 있었어요. Special day, it was like an engagement party. So there was a special day when I went to meet his family, and his family came to meet mine. 그래서 가족들이 이제 상견례하는 그런 때가 있었죠. And it was like an engagement party. Okay, and well, Shyam하고 우리 그 주인공이요. 항상 어떻게 했습니까? Pratima and Shyam were on the phone. 전화 대화를 항상 했고요. And then they met like every day. They dated every day. So 매일매일 만났다고 했습니다. So we'd met regularly. What does would mean here? 여기서는 규칙적으로 과거의 불규칙적인 습관을 얘기하죠. So we'd meet every day. 매일매일 만나곤 했습니다. But always we had to have a chaperone. chaperone을 항상 옆에다 두고 있었어야 됐대요. What does that mean? Chaperone is a middle-aged woman who actually is accompanied when one is dating. 그래서 데이트할 때 옆에 중년 여성이 항상 따라붙는 겁니다. 그래서 이 두 사람이 뭔가 그 선을 넘나 안 넘나 이거를 보기 위한 그런 사람이죠. chaperone이 옆에 있고요. And after 10 months, we got married. 자, 10개월 이렇게 그 데이트를 한 다음에 이제 결혼을 하게 되는 거죠. Wow, there are really, really multiple steps. So, do we have answers for number 7? What happened between the time of the interview and the wedding? Well, 그 인터뷰를 하고 나서요. Well, 그 패밀리랑 일단은 그 서로 이제 상견례하는 special party가 있었어요. 그죠? 그리고 나서 what comes next? There were special engagement party. So its family members meet together and then, they got to know each other. Okay? And what came next? They started to date, right? So they talked on the phone every day and they would meet each other every day, right? With a chaperone next to them, of course, right? And after 10 months, they got married. Okay? So 이게 스텝이 되겠죠. And why don't we go to number 8 together. Okay? Number 8 풀기 전에요. 이 부분에 대해서 힌트를 주는 그런 부분을 들어보도록 하겠습니다.
And how long have you been married?
Nearly 25 years now.
And it's been a successful marriage? Your father made a good choice?
Oh, yes, of course. And we have 2 beautiful sons. They're 22 and 17 now.
And will you arrange their marriages?
Oh, yes. My husband is planning them now. He's been asking families for some time already and...
And your sons want it?
Well, Krishna, he's the eldest. He's okay about it. He's studying hard and hasn't got the time to meet girls, but...
Yes, what about the youngest? Ravi, isn't it?
Yes, well, actually Ravi's not so keen. It might be difficult to persuade.
But you still believe...
Well, how long has she been married now? She's been married for 25 years, right? And has it been a successful marriage? 여태까지 아주 성공적인 결혼이었나요? Is she quite satisfied about her marriage life? Yes, she said, yes, of course, right? Okay, so has it been a successful marriage? 이 결혼이 그 성공적인 결혼이었냐? 다시 말해서요. Did your father make the right choice? 제대로 선택을 하셨냐? 아버지가 그렇게 얘기했더니 oh yes. 뭐 두말할 것도 없이 oh yes, right? So it seems like that she's quite satisfied with her marriage. 결혼 굉장히 잘했다고 생각을 하는 거죠. Okay, so your father made a good choice. this was a question. And she said, oh, yes, of course. 물론이죠. And we have two beautiful sons. 아들이 두 명이 있어요. 한 명의 이름은 뭐였습니까? Krishna, and the other was Ravi, right? And they have different perspective toward arranged marriage. Arranged marriage에 대해서 둘 다 다른 견해를 가지고 있긴 하지만요. 여기서요, Pratima thinks that arranging their marriages might be a good idea too. So the question is asked like, will you arrange their marriage? Will you arrange your son's marriage? 아들도 그 연애 결혼이 아닌 이렇게 그 arrange marriage를 시키겠냐 이렇게 물어봤어요. 그죠? 그랬더니 oh yes. 네, 그렇게 하겠다라고 얘기를 했죠. Oh yes, my husband is planning them now. 지금 그렇게 시킬 계획이다. 계획을 하고 있다. He's been asking families for some time already. Okay, so for some time, 어떤 기간 동안 he's been asking, 계속 물어보고 있어요. Families. Okay, so 여기저기 이제 물어보고 다니는 거죠. Okay, 자, and then your son wanted? 아들은 다른 생각을 가지고 있죠. Krishna, well, he's studying really hard. 굉장히 공부를 열심히 하는 그런 학생이라서 he doesn't have time to go out on a date. 데이트할 만한 시간이 없어요. And then, he just leave it on. 이거 아까 나왔었던 표현이죠. He just leaves it up to his family. Okay? But how about Ravi? Oh, Ravi is not so keen. What does that mean? 여기 나왔을 Ravi is not so keen means he's not that eager. Oh, well, he's not like, he does not like this arranged marriage kind of thing. Right? 중매 결혼 같은 거 싫어해요. 그죠? Arranged marriage. 가족들끼리 이렇게 arrange 해가지고 결혼하는 거. Well, he's not so keen. He's not so keen. Okay? And it might be difficult to persuade. Okay, 뭐가 생각됐을까? It might be difficult to persuade him. 그를 persuade 하는 것이 힘들 겁니다. 자, why don't we go to number 8? How do you know that Pratima believes in arranged marriages? Well, she didn't say that directly. 직접적으로 얘기는 하지 않았지만요. She's quite satisfied about her marriage life, and she has this two beautiful sons, and then she wants to arrange their marriages too, because she thinks arranged marriage is better than the marriage based on love, right? Okay, so why don't we go to the next part and make sure whether this is right or not, okay?
But you still believe that the system of arranged marriages is a good one?
Oh, yes, I do. Of course I do. But, you know, it depends on a lot, especially on the family choosing the right person. But one main reason I think it does work is that the couple enter the marriage not expecting too much. If you see what I mean. Actually, you know, there are many more divorces between couples who thought they were marrying for love. You know, my mother, she had to marry at 13, but she's still happily married nearly 50 years later. Of course, nowadays 13 is considered too young. But you know, times change.
Yeah, that's very true. Thank you very much indeed, Pratima.
Yeah, so see, our guest was exactly right. And she was asked, 이런 질문을 받았을 때, do you still believe the system of arranged marriage is a good one? 여전히 중매 결혼이 좋은 것이라고 믿고 계시나요? 네, 이런 질문을 받았어요. So the system of arranged marriage is still a good one? 이렇게 물어봤을 때, she said, oh yes, I do. This was what she answered, right? Why? She also admitted, 이런 점은 인정을 했죠. She also admitted, it depends on the family choosing the right person, right? So, 알맞는 사람을, 딱 그 좋은 사람을 골라야 되죠. 그죠? 아무리 arranged marriage라고 해도 이상한 사람 잘못 봐서 잘못 고르면 안 되잖아요. Right? So, it depends on means 어디 달려있다. It depends on the family choosing the right person. But she believes that it does work. Why? Because the couple enters the marriage not expecting too much. Well, just think about the case. When your expectation is this high, well, you feel really, really discouraged. And, you know, what you will find out after marriage is really, really horrible. So the main reasons that these newly wedded couples are fighting is because what? I didn't know you would be like this, or I didn't know you would say such things. Right? So 기대치가 항상 있는 거죠. 난 이런 말을 할 줄 몰랐어. 이렇게 나한테 행동할 줄 몰랐어. Right? So when you have a high expectation, there's more chance for you to be like sad. Well, I don't know about you, but as far as I'm concerned, I believe so. Well, she believes in that way too. So the arranged marriage works. Why? Because the couple enters the marriage not expecting too much. Okay? expectation이 높지 않다라는 거죠. And 다른 example을 들고 있습니다. She says that there are much more divorces among the couples between the couples who are marrying for love. Right? 사랑 때문에 결혼한 사람들 중에서도 divorce rate이 더 높다는 거예요. So there are much more divorces. Right? So divorce가 많습니다. There are many more divorces or much more divorces, okay, between couples who thought they were marrying for love. 사랑 때문에 결혼한다고 해놓고 그 divorce rate이 높다라는 그런 얘기가 되겠죠. And she took an example of her mother. Her mother got married when she was 13. 결혼을 언제 했다고 그랬습니까? 13살 때요. So she had to marry at 13, but she's still happily married. 아직까지도 행복하게 결혼을 한 그런 상태라고 하죠. And it's been like 50 years, right? So she's happily married nearly 50 years. So if you look at her example, even though it was like an arranged marriage, they can be really happy. 자, 그래서 우리는 사랑으로 결혼하는 것이 가장 최고고 이렇게 그 계약 관계나 아니면은 그 중매로 해가지고 조건을 보고 결혼하는 건 별로라고 생각했는데 거기에 대한 생각을 뒤집는 그런 반론을 우리 그 주인공이 지금 해주고 있습니다. 자, 오케이 좋습니다. 오늘 결혼에 대해서 we thought about marriage and especially arranged marriages. 여러분이 arranged marriage에 대해서 가지고 있던 생각이 바뀌셨나요? 아니면 do you still believe it? Oh, I'm gonna marry for love. I don't want arranged marriage. 네, 이렇게 생각을 하시나요? 네, 여러분 나름대로 결혼에 대한 생각들 한번 이렇게 생각해 보시고 영어로 이렇게 써 내려가시는 것도 여러분 회화 공부에 도움이 많이 될 것 같습니다. Okay, now it's time for us to wrap up. 네, 정리할 시간이 왔습니다. Okay, 저는 다음 시간 기약하고요. I have to say bye here. Bye bye.